Matt, welcome to the podcast. Welcome back.
Okay. Back. Yeah. This is a regular occurrence, isn't it? It's just good fun.
It is. No, it's great. I am. So, just for people listening to this in the future, we are actually streaming this for the first time in our Live and Flow community Facebook group. So, if you are seeing this in the Facebook group right now, say hi. And in the comments, let us know where you are in the world watching this from, which is kind of cool. And obviously, it'll be there as well. And if you are listening to this in the future, it gets confusing quickly, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Hey, come and join us. Oh, hey, Cheryl. There we go. Comments are coming in already. Yeah, come and join us. If you are listening to this on iTunes or YouTube, just go to Facebook, Live and Flow Community. I'll be streaming more podcasts. We're doing something live every week and just engaging and attracting like-minded people to be there. So that's exciting as well. So it's Friday, the 24th of September. It is my 5th year wedding anniversary, and I'm carved out some time for us to do this for the next half
Right,
hour.
on your anniversary day. Wow.
Yeah,
Living on the edge.
I am. No, it's a blessed. It's a Friday. We promised to do a relaxed day starting out, and funnily enough, it kind of leans into this because we've been talking all week. Love to do a podcast. Let's try and stream it into Facebook and what could we talk about. And the kind of conclusions we come to was talking about the highs and lows of spiritual practices and the work and some of the challenges we've been through in our life. But it's funny. I was only thinking about this literally just before I jumped on with you. And that this morning, because it was our 5th year anniversary, we're like, let's just wake up when we want. Let's just head in. Even though we're in lockdown, we can go to the beach. I know we can still get a bit of takeaway breakfast and a Nourish bowl. And I kind of got up and started doing these things without a care in the world because I'd given myself permission to do that. And I had the best time. It was relaxing. We had a brilliant time. But yeah, I still found myself getting into work and being as productive on other days, but without the mentality of me, got to get this done, got to get over there, got to push, without the stress of everything came it. And it just keeps reaffirming how everything is a choice. And I actually chose differently today, but it had to be something in my mind outside of myself. So I kind of been reflecting on that this morning. And I think there's the work right there, right? Allowing us to
100%. Yeah.
give us a choice. So where to start? I get to throw on you. I've been talking way too much already.
I know. I was waiting for the first question. I always brace myself when I come on to your podcast. I'm like, I know I'm going to get the hot potato here in a second. So.
Yeah. But no, because we decided the highs and lows of a spiritual practice or practices, yes, and how we've kind of navigated them through in our lives and chose to do it. But I guess the place to start is then, what is spirituality? What does that mean to you? I couldn't even say the word 3 years ago, so I'm.
No, and it gets. I guess the simple, there's so many different ways you could answer that question, isn't there? What is spirituality? And I think that there's a lot of confusion around that, and it gets muddied up with religion, with different traditions and cultures, and you can very quickly isolate people when you start to talk about the spirit because it's an unknown. To me, what really resonated with me over the years is, two things come to mind. The first thing that comes to mind is I did a master's program in spiritual psychology, and it was psychology basically from the standpoint that we're spiritual beings having a human experience. And so it was taking philosophies of psychology and then adding that addition to it. And so when you start to look at life from that vantage point, that we are actual spirit having a physical experience, and we start to nurture that relationship to that larger part of ourselves, then that starts to open up possibility and potential. And like you say, we have more choice.
But there's the caveat right there, right? Because in my own upbringing and own life, I never even thought about that, right?
About what? That there's more to you than the mind and a body.
Is it possible that I am a spiritual being having a human experience and actually starting to see life from that vantage point? because I guess I never really got brought up in religion. I used to, we used to sing songs in school, and they would read chapters from the Bible. But I had no idea. I was like 6 years old. I'm like, I've got no idea what they're doing this. It was like over my head, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and and then it gets to the point. Well, is that just a nice fantasy, or that can make me feel better and navigate the world and have a bit of faith, or is there more to that? I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I
So
think it's
yeah.
well, the second part of what came to mind was being a part of Agape Spiritual Center in Los Angeles. That's was created by Reverend Michael Beckwith, and the whole idea of that center and what it's found on is that we are we're divine beings, right? And that we have this potential. We are actually co-creating this reality that we live in, and we are actually much more powerful than we give ourselves credit for. And so through the practices there, it started to open up this possibility and this potential. And so what you're saying about, well, I had no concept, what is this spiritual part of myself, and how do you actually identify that? Is that just woo woo, or is that a real thing? And so without even having to answer that question, already coming from a place where you're in a community with this concept that you are in command of your life, regardless of the stresses and the challenges that you're facing, and there's a divine support that's coming through, it allows you to take the foot off the gas pedal, right? It allows you to kind of relax in yourself a bit and feel like you're supported in some way that it might not feel like you are when you're in the throes of life. And so I think that's the first thing, is that starting to, from my experience, is having that to lean on has allowed me to relax in myself and in my life more. And I think that's where I was actually first introduced, was when my dad was shoving the personal development stuff down my throat as a child, because I was so anxious and nervous and couldn't really focus my attention in school and this and that. And it was starting to do these practices of different positive thinking and mindfulness practices and meditations that then allow me to relax in myself. And that was enough for me to then explore it more, because I felt better in myself, and I was able to then be comfortable in my body and be comfortable in my life and relationships more so than I was before, just from those practices, whether they were a reality or not. They were real and they gave me benefit. But then I went further down the rabbit hole because I was exposed to that more so than most people. And it was like, I feel like I'm talking a lot, but the it's always the way with me, isn't it? Um, I've had experiences where I've there's stuff that has happened to me that is beyond the five senses,
Mm.
and so when stuff like that happens that you can't rationalize with your mind, but it's as real as if you were experiencing it with your five senses, then that's when it becomes real, isn't it? It's that experience, that having that experience. I don't know.
Yeah,
What do
no,
you think?
yeah, totally. No, I agree with everything you're saying. And I guess to get on terms, which I think we're now leaning into, what is spirituality, and it's to recognize that, isn't it?
Mm,
I always think of the conversation, and it'll live with me for the rest of my life, with Jeffrey Olson, and
mm,
who lost his wife and 18-month-old toddler in a car accident 20 years ago, and his 7-year-old son at the time survived. And he went through this incredible 20-year journey of healing, really.
mm,
And it still blows my mind to this day, that conversation I had with him. But the one thing we kind of having a conversation and navigating and just listening to him speak, the conclusion we came to at the end was, well, is it that I guess our soul's purpose is to recognize the divinity within us, which is that we speak of, but then to be able to pass that on to and share that message with other people to help them recognize the divinity within themselves. And obviously from that place, if we have that, if we do, like you say, have these experiences that are beyond the five senses, and for me, that there's certainly been some that feel that genuinely feel more real than this conversation right now when you're in it.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, how, like, how is that possible? You know, and then you start
Mm.
looking at the science and start a podcast, and you know, and many years later, you kind of come to your own conclusions. But what fascinates me about spirituality, and even you know, now we're getting into the realms of a spiritual awakening, and it kind of conjures up so many beliefs and images, and what things are, um, what they mean to us. Like I was saying earlier, like I actually I found it difficult to put my podcast in the spiritual category on iTunes when I first
Mm.
released it, because I still had my own shit around that word, because it just, you know, like, I don't know, life doesn't get any easier. You just get more adapt to it. And I think
Mm.
there's always this connotation around spirituality that we find some nirvana someday, and then all our problems just go away, and we can just sit in this place where I mean, from my experience, it doesn't feel like that so far. But yeah, you're going
Yeah.
to say something.
Oh, I'm just curious because you said that you hesitated to put your podcast in a
Mm.
spiritual category of spirituality, and so I would be curious to know what was in the way and what then allowed you to move into that. And then also the other question that I had was, you said it wasn't even a concept for you when you were younger as to the spiritual side, but now you've opened into it and look at what you do now. It's like it's throughout all aspects of your life pretty much. So how did you get from there to here?
Yeah, wow. That so the first question, what was in the way?
Yeah.
I actually think it was insecurity, doubt,
Mm.
unworthiness. There was still an element of me holding on to my old self, even though I was in my own
Mm.
life embodying this work massively. But to come out publicly and go, you know what? I'm just owning this. Like, I don't care what people think. I just actually want to do good, support, and do things with integrity and heart. And you know, if I'm going on
Mm.
spiritual, like, I guess growing up in Wales, drinking Guinness, playing rugby, and you know, there was such a different persona around that. And a lot of this work is about getting back to our true self before all the cultural caretaking, schooling, beliefs are all lumped on top of us, right? And it's getting back
Yeah.
to, who's that guy, or even before he was named guy, who's he, you know?
Mm.
Or you
Hmm.
know, that being. So there was definitely that in the way still, and I guess I've had to grapple, and this is the work. I've had to grapple with my own insecurities, demons, whatever you want to call them, as what we do now continues to grow and more people come, and there's more expectation put upon you to a degree as well. So you know, it's just a soup of things. I'm just a guy from Wales doing his thing. But then, you know, as things grow, and it's all in the head anyway.
Mm.
Like it is at the end of the day. Does it need to be any different?
So
But
are you saying like who am I to actually call my work spiritual? Is that kind of
yeah,
where you come?
to a degree,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. Because then it just
Yeah.
conjures up all these different images of different people, and you know, and I listened to that book you recommended with Stuart Wilde, you know, on Audible, and I devoured it. And
Yeah.
you know, he's a great. What was the book called, by the way? I mean,
I can't remember. He's got a few of them. Yeah.
Beyond Enlightenment, was it, or something? I think something like that.
Something like that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Beyond enlightenment. Yeah.
you know, and he to me he nailed it in the book about that, and conjuring up, you know, people all of a sudden are put on a pedestal, and you get these images of people kissing people's feet, and you're the
The
one, and
guru.
giving you a good, like, giving your power away, when actually this
Mm.
work is about claiming your power back. Now, I'm not saying that is spiritual work. I don't know, but you know, I had to have an awakening first to then go, fuck me. What was I doing? And then actually work backwards, where I feel a lot of people come from the ground up, where I kind of jumped to the end and then started coming backwards
Mm.
to a degree. To a degree. But then in hindsight, it's been a journey all my life. Now that I've had experiences and enough life experiences to be, you know, I'm 47 this year. I can look back at that 5-year old, that 10-year old, that 15-year old, that 20-year old, and I can feel him and feel where he was at the time, and all the things that were going on, the confusions, the difficulties, and there's there was always a there was always an essence of me that was greater than what people and society was telling me how I should live. And for me, that flame has actually always been there. I just didn't recognize it in myself, but it was strong enough not to, I guess, be molded by everyone else's opinions and society and how I should be. It actually resisted that strongly, but I didn't have the mentor or the guidance or the guides or whatever of people to go, actually, to see that and then go, come over here, I can show you this. You know what I mean? I had to then go and figure that out for myself, which took a fucking long time, you know.
Yeah.
It's like you're trying to get away to B, but nobody's giving you the map. So, I stumbled across B after leaving A, but instead of it being an hour's journey, it was a 10-year journey or whatever it might
Yeah.
be, because I got lost along the way,
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. That's interesting.
hmm. I don't know
It's
if the,
like,
go on.
yeah, no, I've just been thinking this kind of sparked some things in my mind, like this, that conditioning of, you always refer to that Wales rugby player back in the day, and pretty grounded in mainstream experiences and what was going on, and it's like there's a part of us that wants to be ourselves, but we don't have a map to get to that identity because it's never actually been before.
Yeah.
And yet we want to feel included and a part of the tribe, and like our basic needs to fit in are always being tugged on, and so we identify with these roles of who we're supposed to be. But yet, if we would just let go of all that and just be ourselves, then we'd find our way to actually fit into society in our unique way, which I think has been my journey as well, is letting go of trying to fit in and realizing that I just really don't fit in, because as we all are completely unique, and um, then utilizing that uniqueness to develop the work and the life that I live now, which is ultimately inspiring and supporting other people to find themselves. And I think somewhere in there is spirituality, is finding the true essence of who you are and allowing that essence that's never been here before and never will be here again to actually express to its fullest here and now as only you can. And to me, that's the spiritual journey.
Mm.
Mm.
And you asked me this question earlier, but I didn't really answer it. So I'm going to ask you it first, and then I can always jump back in
Oh,
afterwards.
that's great. Yeah, just pass the potato, man.
No, so when was it? So your like you said, your dad was giving you all these self-development tapes and drumming them into you from a very young age. So you kind of been exposed to that world what a rock star dad, by the way. I mean, that's so cool.
I, yeah, I think it came from a moment of desperation. He didn't know what else to do. But yeah, he's a rock star.
Yeah, no, I've met your dad. He's awesome.
Yeah, he's cool.
So you get to that point, but then we titled this "The Highs and Lows of Spiritual Practices." Like, what were the defining moments for you then to really go down this path of searching, of looking? Because quite often, do you think that we could be missing life from doing the searching, or is it part of the evolution of our growth?
No, I definitely can miss life in the searching. Look, I find a lot of people come and do the work with us can be like that. There's spiritual tourism. It's like, or a spiritual distraction or a bypass to actually,
Bypass, yeah.
wanting to deal with what's going on inside of them, and they find another, addiction in ways. I mean, meditation can be an addiction if you're not careful. Breath work, especially. I mean, breath, sound, and breath, like those are utilizing techniques that are eliciting a flow state within you, and those, the very addictive state of being. That's why, the adrenaline junkie kind of thing. You can get the same kind of rush doing the work that we're doing, and then get addicted to that and chase the rush, or chase the spiritual experience. And it's yeah. What did you ask me?
So you went off on this search, like you said, you went and explored every rabbit hole under the sun, and I threw that caveat in about, you know, you're missing life at the same time because you're on the
Oh
search.
yeah,
But
yeah, that
but
was
then but
it.
then because of the search, you get so much more wisdom and experience because you actually went and experienced all these experiences. It's like
Yeah.
a buffet. You like you go and eat all the buffet, and then you realize, oh, I actually only wanted that apple.
Well, that's it, isn't it? I think well, you know why I went on the journey of all this stuff, yeah.
I To a degree, yes, but
Yeah.
maybe people listening don't.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah. Uh, I forgot. I thought we were just having a conversation, mate. I
well, we
forgot there's other
are.
people listening. That's right. Oh, how you doing, guys? Um, yeah, no, well, because my mom's death, my mom dying suddenly at a young age, and I was 22 at the time, and from like from about moving into being a teenager and then trying to really fit into um, the tribe, and trying different things. I was quite distracted from the initial information that my dad was sharing with me as a child.
Right.
And so it derailed me in a way. And I didn't actually go back to that until I was 22 and my mom died. And then I knew from my experience that helped me relax myself. And I was dealing with so much grief, so much pain, that I leaned back into the practices, meditation, and different things that I was learning as a child. But during that time as well is when I had the vision of my mom, and she showed me this is one of those experiences. It was having this vision of, you could call it a dream, but it was like one of those
Was
dreams
it
that it's
clear?
like crystal. It was more, I saw, because she showed me more colors than I could actually identify with the color range that we see with our eyes. I heard sounds that were beyond what you could actually hear with your ears, and dimensions. It was more than just three dimensions. It was a multi-dimensional kind of shapes and colors and sounds and things that was actually unfolding before me in this dreamlike state. And then when I woke up from the sleep state that I was in, I felt my body fly through the house and actually move I
Oh
felt
wow.
myself, my consciousness move through the house and into the body, that came at such an impact into the body, because I was downstairs in this vision and my bedroom is upstairs in my house, and as a child, and this is where I was, and the body actually sat up in bed, like I just threw myself
Yeah.
up in bed and woke and had a crystal clear memory of everything that just happened, so much so that it was like I had been with her, you know and this was a few days after she had died. And so I wrote it all down, and that was the first experience. That was one of the experiences that put me back on this track. And further down, like, I actually years later went and saw a medium, and um, I was trying to get a sign of if he connects with my mom from the other side, I'm going to have like a nurse's badge that she wore, and nobody knew that I had that from all of her gear that I had taken it, and so that was going to be my sign. But he one upped it, and he actually told me that dreamlike experience from her point of view, and I hadn't told anybody about it at that time. And so it's statistically impossible for somebody to actually
Mm.
know that I had that dream and then actually to tell it to me from a different vantage point. It was like mind bending. So stuff like that happens, and it's like that you can't deny that, can you?
Do you? No, 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 no. Of course not. But they're only our experiences, aren't they?
At the
At
end
the
of the
end,
day, yeah, it's
at the
all
end of the
just an
day, and if
illusion.
somebody else has not even considered an experience like that, let alone had one, it can be
Yeah.
very difficult to imagine or anything. So we can then dismiss it very easily. Because
Yeah,
that's not
absolutely.
our
I
world.
suppose so. It's
But I'm curious with you, if you were such an unruly mongrel, which it sounds like, and and uh, do you think it required your mum's passing to really set you on this trajectory, or do you think it was in you, and you would have found just a different way? It would have just shaped in a different. outcome? Have you ever thought about those things?
Yeah, well, yeah, many times. And I actually, to the extent of feeling guilty in some moments
Wow.
for her death. Like, did that have to happen to put me on trajectory for my life's purpose? And did I actually wheel that in some way? It's like, you can, it's insane. Like, you can go down rabbit holes with that. But um, realizing that there is no right or wrong, there just is choice all the time, and that we take experiences and then create the reality around them based on a perception of them. And yeah, I think I probably would have gone down that road anyway, because I remember as a kid also getting these, books on how to do telekinesis and how to read people's minds and like all this, I told you this before. I'd sit in the classrooms and like try and make the flies land on my desk, like. So I was doing weird shit like that anyway and exploring this whole rabbit hole, but I just
Yeah.
got distracted with life. So I think I probably would have found my way there anyway. But that was the search then. That was what got me there. Was then I, having had that experience with her, then it was like, oh, where was that? And can I get back there? And that's what sent me on this journey, just trucking around looking for different ways to create the mystical experience to get my mom back, basically.
Mm.
So um, I was chasing for a long time. So
And what's your thoughts on? I'm just going. I feel like I'm asking you lots of questions here, but
you are now. You become the host. Are we going to have a conversation? Or?
yeah, okay. Well, ask me a question, and I'll ask you one back afterwards. Or something.
No. I don't know. Where were we? Go on.
Well, you said chasing the mystical experiences,
Mm,
um, and I've no doubt you've had many. I often wonder about this, and um, because once you kind of become open to this work and start looking, like a mystical experience has been quite a part of my journey, and I often wonder, like, wow, what would it mean if everybody would have a mystical experience of some kind that would challenge them to maybe reconsider the way they see reality and see themselves at some level. But then I think, are people ready to have them?
mm.
I don't know. I don't know, you know?
Well, yeah. As you were talking, because we keep throwing this word mystical around,
Hmm.
and I just like Googled what's the
I was
definition
going
of
to say,
mystical.
can you Google it?
And the definition of mystical is inspiring a sense of spiritual mystery, awe, and fascination.
Huh.
Or the other definition is relating to mystics or religious mysticism. That's one of those definitions that don't mean anything. Um, I love when they do that. Um, but I like the second one, inspiring a sense of spiritual mystery, awe, and fascination. So, just in the definition itself, going to that question, you got to be open, don't you,
Hmm.
to
Mystery
have a sense
or
of awe, mystery, and fascination. I think that's where we get in trouble because or not trouble, but we just burrow down. We just create the blinders of perception and call that reality because it's safe, because we know it, it's comfortable. But then to lean back into that awe and wonder is a very scary thing, especially for an adult that has to be in control.
yeah. You said something then that because I think it was shit. I have so many podcasts. I can't keep like who said that? Who did that? I
Yeah.
had the Sage Dyer on the other day, Wayne Dyer's daughter, and
So jealous about
such
that
a
one.
such a lovely soul, really really sweet soul, and
Mm,
I think it was her that said that it said she said that in the book The Course of Miracles, which I've not said, a true miracle is a shift in perspective,
right.
and that really caught me. I was like, wow,
Mm,
that's really powerful. And for me, what describing mystical and mystical experiences is that's what it gave me, a
mm,
real shift in perspective. but it was a big shift because it started to make me question, well, who am I? Are we
Mm,
really these, are we spiritual beings, divine beings, having a human experience?
mm-hmm,
Because then it starts to lean into more of that. And if,
mm,
and for me, then it started to remove fear from, and I guess look at the, I don't know, the fragility of life and how
yeah,
precious it is, and that
yeah,
we actually only have, we do have a start and an end date here, like
mm,
and not to say that we should go out and quit our jobs tomorrow and just do crazy. Well, you can if you want, but but to me, then it really ignited something in me to go, wow, let's live life. Like this is pretty unique, that what we have here, and
mm,
to make the most of that, which starts to remove the undertones of fear that kind of we not even know that are there, but are guiding our choices. If I look back in my life and look at where things have bitten me on the ass long term, it's probably because I've made a decision based upon fear, consciously or unconsciously, quite often,
yeah,
and it's just kind of then manifested into that way. When I see the old self, think, oh, wow, what was I thinking? I was this or that, I was insecure, or whatever it might be. And it wasn't, and I wasn't fully expressing myself.
yeah.
So I don't know where I was going with that, but
I don't know, but fear, like if you move, if that's the thing though, it's like, because I think using words like spirituality and mysticism and the mystical experience and this kind of stuff, it's like a lot of people just short circuit then and don't even like just turn off.
yeah, gone. See you later.
But yeah, see you
Are you
later.
still
Like
here? If
always,
you are you
just
listening, give us a yeah. Say yes.
I always said it a few times. Yeah, but it is that it's that sense of awe, that sense of wonder, the sense of mystery, that ability to change your perception, all those things that we've just been talking about, that having a spiritual practice actually gives you. And that if you're making choices from fear is a contractive state within ourselves. We contract, we close off. And so our possibilities are limited in that state. But
Mm,
if we go from a place of awe or wonder, there's more possibility. There's a greater potential of choice, and who wouldn't want that in their lives? And I think, I mean, we see it in the world today. There's such it's either this way or that way. That's all that you got. And if you don't go this way, then you're wrong. Or if you go this way, you're right. But you know, it's either or. But that's not the true nature of reality. There's this and like an infinite potential of possibilities. I think for me that's what's been so beautiful about having that vantage point of the concept that I'm a spiritual being having a human experience, is that I don't get so hooked into the duality that's going on in reality of my physical body and mind, and that then I actually am capable of making choices that may not have been apparent from that place of awareness.
mm.
And in those moments, it's more of an expanded aha and a choice point that leads me into something that has never been here before. And it's like, I mean, how can you create something that's never been if you're just utilizing the mind that has always been? You can't. You got to use a mind that's greater than the mind that you're actually perceiving your life with. And that is accessible to us through awe and wonder.
True, but when you say that, what I never used
God,
to
it's
think
deep, man.
about, like when you say create from a mind, but quite often you still think what, like think harder, think more. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And because we're so used to thinking with our thoughts and just thinking and
Mm,
trying to solve problems, and we're in that left side mind. But I
mm,
actually think, for me now, I think of my mind as my heart, and that knowing that's beyond the analytical mind, that's greater than that. We it's like we kind of know the difference from what's right and wrong, like as human beings, but we get it conditioned out of us along the way. But when we raw, there's an unconditional aspect of us that doesn't need to be taught. It's there, And
Mm.
it's like if we connect back to that, then that's the all knowing that allows information get past the thinking mind. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
Yes.
The heart, and then also the. Do you ever like take the role of the thinker behind the thoughts? Like, you ever wonder who's thinking the thoughts,
I
and
do.
then who's making the thoughts think, or where are those thoughts coming from,
Yeah.
and that you can actually create a vantage point in yourself outside of yourself and see from there. You do that all the time. You told me that before. What's that thing you do? You imagine that there's a camera crew around, or how
There's
was
a
it
few
called?
things I do. One, I imagine like I'm being followed around with the camera crew, and like, if what would they capture on camera later if they could see me now, kind of thing. And it really makes me become aware. It makes me become aware of how I'm holding my posture, how am I speaking, how am I breathing. You know,
Yeah, that's
like it's
huge.
it's it's massive. And the other one I do is when I have problems, and I'll go into my heart and close myself, and then I'll just see myself drifting off, going higher and
Mm,
higher, bigger and bigger, and higher, and becoming like, I just visualize it. I'm not saying it's actually happening in that moment, but all of a sudden I feel so much greater than this minute thing I'm troubling over. and
mm,
and I'll sit in that space, and quite often it allows me to at least overcome the emotions that I'm feeling in that moment. And then as I settle myself down, I normally start to get insight and wisdom coming from the greater mind that created it. I be like, I'm always quick not to quickly respond or react, I should
yeah.
say. I try
React.
to,
Yeah.
yeah. And these things help. I like to hmm, just pause, breathe. Okay, what's going on? you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
kind of
Well,
thing.
that image of, as you're talking about that larger and larger vantage point, I'm just thinking of an image of, it's like the ant like going from the anthill to grab some food, and then it wants to come back, and like, imagine you put your foot down there, and then it hits the same path that it was going to walk on. It comes up against the foot, the obstacle, right? And you don't see ants just beating over somebody's foot to try and get to the path. They just back up and they just find a different way around.
Yeah.
And so it's like this. We don't. What if you actually saw above and could see a bird's eye view from an ant? You would actually know to
Go.
walk
Oh
around the
yeah, I
foot.
just need to walk around it. Yeah, it's like the fly trying to get through the glass all the time.
Yeah,
You
that's it.
know. Yeah.
That's it. Boom, boom.
So to wrap up this podcast, we're gone over, but that's all right. How does we close this? Like, what let's for me, it's like anyone that's listened to this far, maybe let's give a few things to contemplate on, to no matter where you are on the journey, that might support you in some way, especially in these times. And
Mm,
the first thing that came to me when I think about covering all this is in, especially because we can be in stress a lot. But one question I ask myself is, will my future self thank me for this if I do this right now?
mm.
And if it's a no, I
Maybe
don't do
don't do
it.
it. Yeah. Yeah.
It's just quite simple. But what that does, it nurtures, because I think with this work and with seeing, because at the end of the day, for me, it's been about wanting to bring more peace in my life, more joy in my life, and actually don't sweat the small stuff so much. Like
Mm.
on a daily basis. I'm certainly not there yet, but if I compare myself to the guy 5 years ago, or 10 years ago, it's a very different person from that. And you could say life's experiences teach you that, and you kind of do get a little bit wiser as you get older. Not always, but you learn.
We have moments, hey?
Yeah,
Wise
yeah,
moments. Yeah.
yeah. But I guess saying that, for me, then it if I start, I genuinely want to enjoy the days, and I have a practice where I make sure I have moments in my days where I can go, wow,
Mm.
I'm fully present here. I'm really enjoying this moment. right now. And I
Mm.
think with technology and fear and information and everything that's can by, we can lose that quite quickly, you know. And I try and strive for more of those moments now than ever. So
Mm.
looking after myself allows me to find them easier.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm,
100%.
yeah.
And I think what I would suggest to, because I guess at the end of the day, what we've just uncovered through this is spirituality is the being open to a sense of awe and mystery that allows for an openness and a shift in perception, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
So, how do you then nurture that state within yourself? And that comes from, well, regular practices. I mean, we say this till we're blue in the face, don't we? Get every morning, have like just some sort of meditation where you could just open to the possibility, and whatever that looks like for you. I mean, we've got a 7-day challenge where people can lean into short meditations throughout the day to start to nurture that. Um, but I think also, if you've got an aversion to meditation or any kind of practice, you can do what you're doing all the time, is just start to notice your breath and start to notice how you hold your body. Because if you're holding stress in your body or restriction in your breath, then you're going to create a stress and a restriction in your life, and you're going to inhibit that ability to be in awe, wonder, and that ability to shift your perception. You're
Mm,
going to be locked in. So notice throughout the day, just a simple practice. You can even set a reminder on your phone, every hour, ping, and that means relax my jaw, deepen my breath, and just be open. See what
mm,
happens.
totally.
Hmm.
You know, I want to wrap up with one last thing though to say that
Hmm.
because it's safe to say we're pretty passionate about this work. We always have conversations all the time. We just happen to be recording this. It would probably be a
Yeah.
similar conversation over the phone, right?
Yeah.
So we get excited by it, and once you start having glimpses of what we've spoke about today, once you start to create a new reference point too, it's like you you carve a line down the the the, the bobsleigh snow the first time, and all of a sudden you go, whoa, and then you run it again, and it becomes a much more conditioned way, and then all of a sudden your reality, and that's when the shift in perspective changes, because you start to have these experiences that do go, shit, that was cool. I wonder when my next one's going to be, and what's that going to
Hmm.
look like, and have these insights and experiences. And to me, that becomes exciting. That becomes an adventure, and it's like we start to embrace the unknown in that area. Then going within. When somebody once said to me, the greatest journey you'll ever go is within. I'm like, what? Like why? What? You know? And
Yeah.
then, but when you start having mystical experiences that give you a sense of awe, joy, and wonder to the possibilities, that is something more to it than meets the eye or our five senses, then it, for me, it just changes the whole paradigm.
Hmm.
You stop chasing more of material things and physical things and stuff that you're just never going to take with you at the end of the day anyway, and you start wanting to embody and experience life more, and I think it's crucial. I think it's crucial. So putting
Hmm.
yourself around like-minded people, putting you around yourself people where you can have these conversations on a regular basis and create that sense of wonder and awe is critical too.
Hmm.
Hence why we do what we do, and
Yeah.
kind of moved in that direction.
Hmm.
Anything to add before the podcast ends?
No, I feel complete.
You feel complete.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, thank you for listening. If you want to find out more what we were doing, come back to livingflow.co. Matt, you mentioned the 7-day challenge, the 7 days of meditation. That's actually freely available on our website. If you haven't grabbed it, you can get that. It's 3 short meditations, morning, noon, and night. And it's a great way. There's myself, Matt, and Petra guiding each one. That's a great place to start as well. And of course, touch wood, we'll be up and running with the retreats in 2022, back in the workshops.
Hope
And
so.
yeah, we hold space online every week as well, whether it be through breath, sound, regression, meditations. We're doing lots of stuff online as well. So just best place to do, again, livingflow.co. And that's it.
Awesome.
Amazing.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks, legend. So I got to make sure I forget we're not hit the Facebook Live.
That's it.
Awesome.